Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So there's no secret that I'm a Ubiquiti Unifi fanboy, and so I'm really hoping to be wrong about the subject of today's presentation. And so I've entitled it Unifi Network Backup Gone. So the question is, has Ubiquiti removed network backup as an option beginning in Unifi Network version 10.1.85? And so Unifi Network Backups were on the Backup tab of the system screen under Settings. And typical network backups were 30 to 50 megabytes in size. They contain things like your sites, your devices, your port settings, maybe historical data like your deep packet inspection data, statistics, settings, and what I consider to be the most important aspect would be the DHCP address reservations. And so Unifi OS backups, in contrast, are only 10 to 15 megabytes in size, and they have console metadata like the users, the OS configuration, some certificates, and basic site or state data. So did Ubiquiti remove access to network backups and leave us only with Unifi OS backups that do not contain important network configuration? And that's what is going to be our discussion today. So here you're looking at a screen which is in the present or older version, depending upon whether you've taken this update or not, where we go over to Settings and System, and we have two tabs at the top, General and Backups. And so the backups is to be able to back up the network controller data, and that's how it looked in versions 10.0.162 and earlier. The screen we're looking at right now is the general screen, but if we move over to the backup screen, you can see here that the backups, as I mentioned earlier, we're using 30 to 50 megabytes, and you would end up producing a file with those backups called network underbar backup with the date, the time, and it would have an extension of UNF and also include the version number of the network controller. And the contents were the things I had mentioned earlier. So if we actually look at that backup, and here I've said network controller backup is missing beginning in 19.1.85. Wonderful typo on my part. This is what I get for creating my notes when I'm asleep. But we should have said here 10.1.85. So you have the option to create a backup with settings only, the last 7 days, 30 days, or so on. The advantage of using the number of days here is that it will store more of the data for things like your offline nodes and perhaps your DHCP address information data and so on. So if we move over to the settings control plane and area, you'll see here that the network application then has the update to 10.1.85 from 10.0.162, as you see here on this one site that I'm managing that happened to not yet be upgraded yet. And so it removes the option to make a backup for the network configuration only. So if we move over here to the option where you have that update and you click on the release notes, it will tell you that an upgrade to 10.1.85, the important notes are that the Unifi Network application includes only the bug fix that follows, and it fixed an issue where the dashboard could fail to load in rare cases. And it makes this upgrade really sound incidental, and it has absolutely no note or information regarding a change to the network backup option. So my question to all of you is, has this moved, and is it just that I can't find it? So then if we go over to the control plane and we go to backups, and I might point out you need to be the owner of your console, not just the super admin, to be able to see the backups option under control plane. But you go over to this option here, and that's where the Unifi OS backup is, and it hasn't changed. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it backs up the user accounts, the network protect, talk, access, and console metadata, users, OS config, and so on. So it backs up literally all of the applications and all the settings about your console, and it backs up your configuration for all these apps like network, protect, talk, and access. But it's only 10 to 15 megabytes in size, and as we'd mentioned earlier, the network backup is usually 30 to 50 megabytes in size. So although the Unifi OS backup does include the network backup, it certainly doesn't include all the details I mentioned earlier, or else it would be the size of the OS backup plus the size of the network backup. And when you do the OS backup, it will name it Unifi OS backup. It will give a date and timestamp, and the extension for it is .unifi rather than .unf, as I mentioned in the previous slide. If you go over to 10.1.85, the same screen only has this general section, but there are no tabs, so it's not like it's naming the general section. The tabs for system and backup are missing on this screen, and so unless the network backup's moved, this important capability to back up your network appears to be gone after the upgrade from 10.0.162 to network 10.1.65. And again, if I'm missing something, be sure to tell me, but I've hunted around and I simply cannot find it. So in summary, I'm hoping that the lack of the network backup option under settings and system is unintentional on behalf of Ubiquiti. Has this backup option moved and I just can't find it? And again, if any of you are aware of some information regarding this subject, please feel free to share. And the Unifi OS backup alone provides no granularity for your network configuration. And so good backup philosophy dictates that you might want to restore only your network configuration without having to overwrite, protect, talk, and access. And so for that matter, why have there not been separate backups individually for protect, talk, and access? Anyway, that's it for today. Please subscribe and like to the channel, and don't forget to hit your notification bell, and we'll see you next time.